I am Demian Bio. I am the Latin Times managing editor. I interviewed Christopher Hernandez Roy, the deputy director and senior fellow of the Americas program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, about the most pressing issues regarding Venezuela right now. That is the surge in migrants from the country reaching the US southern border, as well as its domestic political situation, which is seeing key developments these days with the possibility that the US lifts sanctions in exchange for freer and fairer elections. Here are some key parts of the chat. Thank you again for time. I won't take a lot of it. So I wanted to start by asking you about the surge in Venezuelans crossing the borders that has been reported in the past few days. CBS said it was 50,000 in September alone, almost a quarter of total border crossings. Do you see specific reasons for this increase?
Well, so, I mean, the first thing we have to say is there's been a surge generally throughout 2023. It's not necessarily, I mean, I don't have the exact specific numbers for the month of September. I think the month of August was also a record inflow. But we have to see this as a dramatic increase in 2023 over 2022. I think it's something like, it's close to maybe 260,000 Venezuelans have tried to cross into the U.S. southern border in 2023, and let's keep in mind we're not even fully through 2023. We're only at the beginning of October, and with comparing that with the year before, where I think it was something in the order of 180,000. So, a fairly large increase, and this is. But this has been going on for many years. There's now over, I think it's 7.8, it's close to 8 million Venezuelans have left in the last few years. It is the largest movement of people, including into active war zones. There are less Ukrainians outside Ukraine than there are Venezuelans outside of Venezuela, given these movements, although, Ukraine has something like 5 million internally displaced people, in addition to something like 6 million outside. And the figures are somewhat similar for Syria. I think they're reversed. There's more IDPs in Syria than external. But this is almost 8 million Venezuelans that have left. And it's causing, a huge crisis throughout the region.
Mm-hmm. Do you know, I'm asking you, because you cover Venezuela more extensively. Is it possible to know if they mostly come from Venezuela, or if they are Venezuelans who, have migrated to other countries and then decided to leave because their situation in those countries has gotten increasingly precarious as well? I'm thinking like Peru, Ecuador, for example.
Peru, Ecuador, Chile, Colombia.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, the answer is both. There are people that are leaving Venezuela still, and while the situation in Venezuela got a little bit better after passing through a tremendously difficult period, it is now sort of, the trends are going negative again. I think the most recent figures are like 400% inflation, and that's obviously, that obviously hits the poor the hardest. What I think is happening also is the neighboring countries, and even further away, as far as Chile, which is obviously not a neighboring country, and then particularly in Colombia, they have responded over the years very generously to the influx of Venezuelan migrants, trying to regularize their legal status, offering them social services, trying to get them documented so that they can enter the formal economy. But there's only so much these countries can do because the influx is so great. And there's also, there's a bit of fatigue that's setting in. Conditions in these countries have not fully recuperated with post-COVID. Latin America was particularly affected by COVID, perhaps on a per capita basis, much more than other regions of the globe. And there's fatigue, and unfortunately, there's also, to some extent, there's xenophobia that's setting in. And so Venezuelans are leaving Venezuela, but they're also leaving the countries that have received them and hosted them initially. So that's why you're seeing an influx through the Darien. They're coming from Colombia. They're coming from points further south up to the Darien Gap.
Mm-hmm. Do you think any of this could change with what we saw? I think it was yesterday or the day before. The fact that Venezuela, the government, or however we want to describe it, is going to start accepting deportation flights from the U.S. Do you think this could have any effect, or people are just so desperate that they go anyway?
No, I think that this is going to have an effect for sure. The administration kind of did two things at the same time. On the one hand, it extended the temporary protection measures of Venezuelans who were already in the United States. So it did something to protect the people that had already arrived, but recognizing the tremendous influx and the pressures, frankly, not only at the border, but the pressures within the United States, where Venezuelans are being bused to northern cities that Chicago, New York, Washington D.C. The resources there are stretched also thin to receiving this large influx of migrants. The administration decided at the same time as it extended the TPS to negotiate with the Maduro regime to be able to send people who come in irregularly or illegally to be sent back. Now, I think that will have a deterrent effect. I don't know the fine details of that. And one thing that would worry me particularly is, I think the vast majority of people that are leaving Venezuela are still people that are leaving because of the economic and social conditions that are, they're not able to provide food for their families, and so they have to leave. At the same time, there are still some people that have to leave the country because of political reasons, because they're being persecuted by the regime. The regime has been relentless in persecuting people. Most of the political leadership has left the country. There are still a few courageous people there, but I would hope that people that felt they had to leave the country because of threats to their life or for other persecution, that those people would find safe haven and not be returned, lest they face serious consequences. But so to sum up, I think this will have an effect and will make people think twice. It may not eliminate the flow. I doubt very much that it would eliminate the flow, but it could lessen it. Now, having said all that, the pressures at the southern border are not just Venezuelan. There are other people from Central America, in particular, including Nicaraguans, who have had to flee the oppression of Daniel Ortega's regime. So Cubans, for instance, have been arriving in the United States in unprecedented numbers. It's the largest migration in Cuba's recent history, beyond the special period and the period before that, in the early 90s. So while they may reduce the flow of migration from Venezuelans, other regular migrants will continue to arrive at the U.S. border.
Thank you very much. Finally, is there something that I didn't ask you that you think I should have?
No, I don't think so. But if you need, if you want any clarification or anything, feel free to send me a WhatsApp. I'll be happy to answer.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I think I have everything ready.
I said, I hope that's helpful.
No. It's very, very helpful. Thank you very much again.
All right. My pleasure. Take care.